Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 20 of a Disney Life podcast. I am Missy, and I thank you for being here with us today to chat about all things Disney with a Disney Life. I am joined today with two friends. First of all, my co host Rachel is along as usual. Hello, Rachel.
Good morning, Missy.
And today we also have our friend Jenn with us. Hi, Jenn. Welcome to the podcast.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So we're excited to talk to Jenn today because today's episode is about Disneyland. If you're a regular listener, you know that we most often talk about Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida. But Jenn recently visited the Disneyland Resort out in Anaheim, California, and we're excited to hear about her adventures out there. My Disneyland experience is pretty limited. I have been there a few times, I think 3 times overall in my life, starting at 7 years old. So Disneyland was actually my first Disney park experience. So it is a special place for me, even though I am not there nearly as often as I am Disney World's. We'll be chatting about Jenn's recent Disneyland trip in today's podcast. Our top 5 today is going to be about the top 5 things that you can experience at Disneyland that are not at Walt Disney World in Florida. So a few differences there. We each have our top 5 to go over. Our listener question also compares the two properties. And Rachel will wrap things up with the tip of the week. So thanks for stopping in for episode 20. We're happy you're here, and let's get right into things. As I mentioned, friend Jenn is here with us today talking about her recent Disneyland trip. We are recording this episode in September of 2025. In Jenn's trip, she was able to do some celebrating for the 70th. Is it anniversary? Is that what we're calling it? 70?
Yes,
Yes.
I believe so.
Okay. And 70th anniversary, as well as some Halloween activities she was able to participate in out there. So welcome to you, Jenn. And you just want to tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into things.
Sure. Well, like you, Missy, Disneyland was my first park that I
Okay.
visited. I was probably around 3, so 1976 was when I first visited there. But I consider Walt Disney World my home, really. Although Disneyland was the first park that we took our children to all together. So that was kind of a fun thing as well.
Wow.
Mhm.
Special memory there. Okay.
Mhm.
So for this particular trip, you traveled with friends, though, correct? Not with
Yes, very
family?
good friends. Yes.
Okay. And how many of you were traveling together? Was this a big group or was it a smaller get together this
It
time
was a
around?
smaller get together. There was 4 to 5 people depending on the day.
One thing I love about our trips is that we have gotten such a fun Disney network of friends going on that no matter where we seem to go, there always seems to be a few of us that pop in and out during our trips. And I think that's just a lot of fun. So even if you weren't staying with them at the hotel specifically, it's fun when you have other guests, other friends stop in. And that's kind of what we're all about here. So for this particular trip, Jenna, was all adults, correct? No kiddos along this time?
Correct, all adults.
All right, why don't you tell us about where you stayed for this trip? Were you at one of the Disneyland Resort hotels?
Yes, we stayed at the villas at the Disneyland Hotel. We
Okay.
had a studio, a preferred view studio there, which was very nice. It's themed a little bit differently than the Disneyland Hotel. It had kind of a Tiana theme to it, but not over the top, just very slight, some pictures and things like that.
Were those rooms recently redone? I feel like maybe in recent years I heard something about a refurbishment there. Or no, the villas themselves are new,
Villas
right?
are new, but
Okay.
even the rooms at the Disneyland Hotel were recently redone within,
Okay.
I think, a couple of years or so.
Very nice.
What was the bedding situation like in the, villa?
Well, that is a good question. So the villas have a one bed, a queen bed, but then they have a pull down Murphy bed. And the pull down Murphy bed, I would say, I did sleep on that one. It is definitely more comfortable than a a traditional sleeper sofa, but it was hard. It was a little hard, and it was actually a little hard for us to get it down. It took some. Normally they're not that hard to get down. It might have just been our particular room, but
So it was
Mhm.
hard to pull down or was hard to sleep on, you're
It
saying?
was
Like
hard to
the
pull down.
just to pull
So
down.
we
Okay.
once we got it down, we left it down.
Yeah, okay. So, in comparing, just for the sake of my own knowledge moving forward here, I know that this summer you had stayed at Disney's Art of Animation Resort at Disney World. Which bed did you have there in that family suite?
Oh, I had the pull down bed in that one too.
Okay, so how would you compare the two of those together to with their comfort? Were it same, different, not noticeable?
That's a good question. I think maybe the bed itself, sleeping on it was about the same. I think maybe where I thought it was uncomfortable was because that was also where I would sit too if I was doing some work or something, because it really only had the bed and the pull down bed. There was a little area you could sit on, but we had that covered with things.
With stuff.
Yes, with stuff. So I had to sit there too, whereas Art of Animation suite, that had a couch, it had chairs, it had all sorts of places that I could do work on. So it was just a little bit more comfortable in that sense.
Okay, but no noticeable difference with the bed itself. So, I mean,
I
we
don't
seem
think
to, it's a pretty standard thing, I think, overall. We're seeing so many of these in the Disney properties all over that they seem to be a pretty standard, pretty much well reviewed sleeping accommodation. I
I
think I
think
don't
it's a
really hear
big
people say,
upgrade.
you think what, Rachel?
I think it's a big upgrade compared to the sleeper sofas. You're not having a metal bar in your back or anything like that.
Hmm.
I'll also say Art of Animation, the sleeper sofa is actually pretty comfortable in that, the way that it's designed, where it makes a solid surface where there's no bar under that either. So don't let that those things like that kind of deter you from booking one of those suites. Those sleeper sofas are actually better than most as well. But I like the Murphy bed concept because I'm like Jen. I mentioned in an episode that I end up on the Murphy bed a lot too because you can't put children's rails on the Murphy bed. So I end up on there. It's comfortable and it don't let it deter you from booking one of these.
I kind of want one in my house because they're
Yeah,
just such a great use of space, you know?
right.
I
Yeah.
mean, but anyway, okay. Sorry, we got a little sidetracked there, but I love comparing the different options at different properties because an endless problem for me on every single trip is where do I stay? Where do I stay? And of course, the biggest factor in that is usually budget. But sometimes I'm able to have enough that are comparable enough in price that of what our budget is for that trip that those little things like that make a difference. So that's
Well,
helpful.
and that is a good point, Missy, is that if you have like two adults, we had two adults staying in this room. Heidi, who has been on your show before, was
Mhm.
rooming with me. And so then it almost is staying at the Disneyland Hotel might be nicer because then you'd have two full beds rather than,
So a regular hotel room rather than one of the
yes,
villa rooms
Yeah.
you're
yes,
saying, right?
mhm,
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense too, and I think their pricing is right around the same as well.
roughly, I think. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Good to know. So moving along for this trip, can you give us just a little rundown how long you stayed and that type of thing, and then we can just start getting right into it with your first day there and what you did.
Sure, perfect. We were there for 5 nights. So it was a nice stay. We had 3 days of park day tickets, though. So we weren't at the parks every day, but there's plenty of things to do at Disneyland that you don't need to visit the parks every single day.
Okay, so your first day when you arrived, which airport did you fly into? I'm assuming you flew in for this trip. You're not in that area of California, so I feel like driving into California is not quite as common as it is for people road tripping down to Florida.
That's a great question. So I did fly into John Wayne Airport in Orange County, and I like that airport. It's small, it's very easy to navigate, and it's very convenient to get to Disneyland. The only thing is, it doesn't have as many flight options as LAX would have. So I
Hmm.
did have to have a connecting flight, which was a pain. It was delayed. And so then I didn't get in as early as I
Aw.
wanted to, but it still was nice being very close.
I think typically when Disneyland guests visit, they're looking at those two main airports as comparisons. I
Mhm.
know there's some other options, but pretty much those two. And you're really having to weigh one convenience for another. You're either dealing with the smaller airport that's just going to be much easier to navigate, but not as many flight options, or you're dealing with massive LAX.
And
That's a,
traffic from LAX too.
yeah.
Did you take a ride share to the resort from there?
We did.
Okay.
We
There's
did.
yeah, we've talked about options for transportation with Walt Disney World. There's a lot of options with Walt Disney World. With Disneyland, there's not quite as many, and they can get kind of expensive. So ride share, if you can, is definitely I think the way to go if you don't have children traveling with you.
I think so.
So Jen actually recently enlightened me to something I wasn't aware of. I also have a Disneyland trip coming up next month, and we were discussing some transportation options. And Jen mentioned an option. Was it with Uber or Lyft? So it was something I wasn't aware of that you can be picked up in a specific spot at LAX rather than having to shuttle out to the rideshare lot?
I think it is Uber Black. You have to order an Uber Black. And if you do that, obviously you're going to pay more, but then it's right at baggage claim. You literally walk out the doors from baggage claim and you be picked up right there. And I personally would rather pay more than have to try and find wherever this rideshare pickup is. It's somewhere complicated. I don't know where it is because I always pay for the Uber Black, but
And the last time I was out there, I did not research that ahead of time. I just assumed it was like most airports. And I guess I assume every airport's like MCO because that's where I go most often. Even though I fly out of numerous airports in order to get there, I think my arrival experience will be the same. So I figured I'd grab my bags and walk out the door. And then I followed the rideshare sign and I couldn't figure out where people were getting picked up. And everybody was getting on this tram. And then I realized if I read all of the signs and scanned the QR codes, it would tell me that I needed to get on a shuttle to ride out to a separate lot in order to be able to take the ride share. And it was very, very organized out there and it worked really well. I can see why they do it the way they do it, but it did take a ton of extra time that I had not been anticipating. So I would definitely be amongst the people who would be willing to at least compare the pricing of the two and then weigh my exhaustion level at the time to determine, am I paying extra to pick that ride up right here or am I going to shuttle out to the other lot to do it?
That's interesting. John Wayne, which different airports, but I thought John Wayne's ride share pickup area was very organized. It was pretty quiet out there, actually.
Mhm.
Last
Well,
time
I'm talking about LAX
I know. Yes, I know.
specifically.
This is, yeah,
Okay,
this
just
is on
for
the LAX.
clarification, my
That
questions
was,
were about
yeah,
LAX because
that
that's
was
where I'll
not,
be
if you're
flying.
going to John Wayne, that is not the case on
Yeah.
there at all. So that is good to know. I had no idea either.
Okay, so Jen, once you got there to the Disneyland Hotel, what was next? Tell us about your first day there.
yeah. So we got there later than anticipated. We didn't have as much time then as we thought that we would, but our room was ready. Yeah. So we were
Yay!
able to go into our room, unpack a little bit. We wandered around. We looked at the store to see the new Halloween merchandise that they had out, which is always fun. We had a seat out at Tangaroa Terrace just to kind of enjoy the breeze, people watch a little, and then we had dinner reservations at the Palm Breeze, which is right next to the the villas at the Disneyland Hotel.
So that is a restaurant at the Disneyland Hotel, you're saying? Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Very good. And of course, the next question when you tell us you had food was what was it?
Right? So
What did you eat?
I mean, it wasn't that exciting. I mean, I'm not that adventurous of an eater, but I did have the Palm Breeze burger, which was very good.
Okay. And did they have any adult beverages there that you enjoyed? Because I
They
know
sure,
you're usually one who will participate in that with me.
they sure did. I had the breezy marg, which is a margarita. It was very good. I think I may have had a couple of them, but
Okay. All right. Good reviews on that then. I'm storing all this away because when I'm there next month, I am staying at I think I'm staying at the Disneyland Hotel also.
Get on that, Missy.
I can't remember what you know how I am. I'm constantly switching things
Yeah.
and looking for different offers and do I want to split my stay? And it's hard out there in California because there are 3 Disney hotels, which you would think would make it easier because there aren't as many. It doesn't because it just makes you want to be at all of them because they're all right there. And I have trouble deciding. So I don't know. All right. So no park time that first day, right, Jen? What did you do after you had dinner?
well,
Or
so
was
we
that
were
brunch?
at dinner pretty late. We were at
Okay.
dinner until probably 9:30, and then, we had been up since 2:33 and then,
Ooh,
traveling
yeah.
and everything that
So it
it
was bedtime.
was just about bedtime, I feel like. And, you brought up a good point, Missy, is that 2 other people in our party were actually staying at the Grand California. And they were
Okay.
staying club level. And we did have a tiny bit of FOMO about that, even though I love staying at the Disneyland Hotel. I
Mhm.
really do. But it's hard because I love all of them and I'd love to stay at all of them for the entire time. And you just can't be everywhere at once.
Well, at least they're close enough that you can visit and take advantage of those common areas, the restaurants at each hotel, and kind of experience a little bit of it. I think it's relatively easy to do at Walt Disney World because they do offer their transportation all over, but it's just exceptionally easy at Disneyland because you can walk from one location to another very easily. So, all right. So the second day, was that a park day or where did the parks fit into this trip here?
Well, it wasn't quite a park day. It was kind of like a park day. We had Oogie Boogie tickets for the night.
Okay.
Nice.
There
Okay.
But
you
we
go.
did get to go into a park not till a little bit later, but
Okay, so was the rest of the day spent at the resort then, or were you off doing something different that day?
so we went to downtown Disney. So one thing I forgot to mention about the Palm Breeze is it's really amazing. There is a breeze there.
Okay.
It's all outdoors. It's a sit down outdoor restaurant, but it has a really nice breeze. And we were a little bit chilly and we thought, oh, we might need sweatshirts for this party this evening. So of course we had to, I know, right? We had to go to World of Disney and see if we could find some sweatshirts, which we did. Mine, just spoiler alert, mine stayed in my backpack the entire evening. So
So it did not get chilly, huh?
it did not get chilly.
The
It was
palm
much
breeze
warmer
did
this
not
day.
follow you to Oogie Boogie.
No, so we went to downtown Disney and we, of course, had lunch reservations at Din Tai Fung, which
Okay.
is amazing.
And
So
what
good.
did you eat?
Oh boy. So they're really known for their dumplings, which is not really something that I'm as into. I know people rave about them and I tried one, they're good. But what I love is the shrimp fried rice,
Okay,
which
that
is
sounds like something I can get on board with.
so good. They have chicken fried rice as well if you don't like shrimp,
Okay.
and they have pork fried rice that has a whole entire pork chop on top of the fried rice, and it is
Oh,
not dry at all.
okay.
Very good.
All right, good to know. So you did some shopping and had lunch before heading into Oogie Boogie Bash then?
Yeah, so we did that, and then we went back to the hotel to get ready and change and things like
Mhm.
that before the party.
And were you in costumes for the party, or what was your attire for the evening?
We didn't do full costumes. I did a Wicked Queen shirt, and I had
Uh-huh.
my Snow White ears, the kind of Wicked Queen Snow
You're
White ears.
okay. Adorable. Very
I
good. I
know.
think that's all you need, really, to feel
Well, we
festive
really
for one
just
of these
did
parties.
yes, we just did ears and a Halloween theme shirt or a Halloween color shirt or something like that.
Okay, and to get to the park, I'm assuming you just walked right over there. Were you monorailing at all during this trip? That's one thing I want to make sure we talk about at some point. So tell us
I
at
will.
some point
I will
if you
get there.
take when you take the monorail. So, okay, because I love that. It's one of my favorite things.
We'll get
Spoiler alert on the top 5. Okay.
Okay. Wow.
No, so actually what we did is after we got ready, we walked over to the Grand Californian to meet up with our friends, and we had dinner at the Craftsman there before we went into the party.
Okay. I think I remind me where that is at the like
That's
where
the one, it's kind of like the pool bar.
okay.
Well, I mean, it's not at the pool, but it's like right behind the pool, and it's a sit down, but it's outside again.
Okay.
Okay.
This one
Yes,
did
I
not have a
recall.
breeze.
I was gonna
No,
say
No
any
breeze?
crafts.
No.
water.
I've been there. I was there just a couple years ago. I can picture it now that you're saying it near the main pool there at the Grand Californian. Okay.
Mhm.
Very nice. And then the Grand Californian is popular because it's the closest to, well, it's popular for many reasons, but it is the closest to the parks, correct? If I'm saying anything wrong, tell me because my Disneyland knowledge we know is slim. As far as it's like the lower end of my Disney knowledge. Uh you could only get into California Adventure from there, correct? Though it has a
Correct.
private entrance into California Adventure, and it is closer than the other hotels for Disneyland Park, but not as close as it is to California Adventure. Is that accurate? Is that an accurate statement?
Wait, it's closer to
It's
than the other
closer.
Disneyland.
It has its own entrance into California Adventure, and then it's closer to Disneyland Park than the other two
That's correct.
hotels out there,
Yep.
but it doesn't have a private entrance into Disneyland Park like it does into California Adventure.
Right, because you can go out into downtown Disney at an
Right.
area that it's closer to walk to
Right. Okay.
Disneyland than it is from Disneyland Hotel.
So let me ask this while we're talking about the private entrance. I know previously, having stayed at a different Disneyland resort, sometimes they would let you use that entrance, but I know they're pretty strict about who they do allow to use that private entrance. Were you allowed, being as a guest at Disneyland Hotel, to use that entrance?
That's a great question. And so earlier in the day, we had heard that they were checking room keys to make sure that you were staying at the Grand Californian in order to use that entrance. We did use that entrance for both Oogie Boogie and then the next day when we went back to a California adventure, but it wasn't at park opening. I think when they're getting strict is at park opening. We
Okay.
were a little bit later that day for obvious reasons, and So we're
Yeah,
let
that's good to know, and that's another point too. We often talk about resort hopping on the show, how much we love that at Walt Disney World. It's a little bit different in Disneyland. They're pretty strict about some things. I know that last time we were staying at it was Paradise Pier at the time, and we were allowed because of construction to go through the Grand Californian, but we had to show our room key in order to do that, and that was just really just getting into the resort. So they're pretty strict about who they allow in
that
California.
that is correct, Rachel. And actually, they do have a gate that is closed most of the time. And so you do have to use a room key to get in. So we would just walk across to Grand Californian. And we did have an extra room key from our friends that we could have used in an emergency, but we checked our Disneyland room key and it did work to get in.
Okay,
So you just have to be staying at one of the 3 resorts in order to get into any of the other resorts.
makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. So keep that in mind if you're planning on visiting that going over and hopping over for quick service or something might not work out for you.
So you're saying they don't even let you in to eat quick service? Or are you saying you just can't use the park entrance if you're there for quick service?
I know when we were there last time, and this is a couple years ago. We were there last time. We staying over at Paradise and we went to Disneyland Hotel to go grab some breakfast at the quick service location and we had to use our key to get into the gate. There was no other way. I'm sure we probably could have walked around to the main entrance of the hotel. We didn't try that from
Okay.
the angle where we were. We were at a very different place, but it's not just something that you can just easily get into. But
Okay.
I know going into the Grand Californian, because we had to go through the main entrance there, they were checking keys.
All right. Good to know. All right. So are we finally at Oogie Boogie Bash?
Well, first of all, I want to say when we went to the Craftsman, I had the quesadilla, the carne asada quesadilla, and it was amazing. It
Mm,
might have been my best. Well, okay, it wasn't my best meal, but it was very good. It was up there. Very good.
okay.
All right. Then we went into Oogie Boogie. And what I really like about this party is that they give you a wristband and you get all your PhotoPass pictures and everything that you can get from this wristband, which I think is a nice thing that they offer. And so we walked in, and the very first thing we did, of course, was go through a treat trail because everybody needs candy. We got a little bag,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, Maleficent was there, and she was really amazing. I think she was my favorite villain that I saw besides Oogie Boogie that we saw later.
So was there a specific goal you had in mind for this party? Like, were you ride focused, trick or treat focused, anything in particular? Or tell us a little bit about what you hope to accomplish and what you actually did do for the remainder of the night.
Yeah, so half of us were new to Oogie Boogie, and then half of us had previously been to this party before. And having previously been to the party before, I personally didn't have anything I really needed to do. It was more what did other people want to see and kind of what was their goals. We had some snacks on our list. We wanted to do some treat trails. We wanted to see some villains. We didn't really ride a lot of rides. I think we rode one ride while we were there, but we were just there to kind of experience the party. And this could be an unpopular opinion. I don't know, but I do think Oogie Boogie Bash might be the superior party. I know.
It
I know
sells
Missy
out.
looks unconvinced.
It sells out a lot sooner than Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party does too. We all know kind of just there's a mad dash to get those tickets, and I think a big part of that is locals as well, getting those with Disneyland being such a locals park. But that's good to know. I have not done Oogie Boogie. I haven't been to Disneyland area in fall time in a while.
So for those of us who have not experienced it and have little knowledge of it, I'm assuming it's safe to say it's comparable to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. Does it have its own fireworks show? Does it have what does it have for your entertainment there that's different than what you'd experience on a normal night in that park?
It has a parade similar to the
Okay.
Boo to You parade that you've experienced at Mickey's Not So Scary. So it has
Mhm.
those things that you would kind of expect. And so it is similar, I feel, to Mickey's Not So Scary. I don't know why I felt like it was better. Maybe because it feels smaller. And so it feels like you can kind of get around to do more things. Whereas I felt at Mickey's Not So Scary, sometimes, you're rushing from thing to thing and you can never quite get everything you want to get done.
Mhm.
Maybe. I'm not sure.
Okay. So overall, it was a good experience, I'm assuming. Was it worth what you paid for? Would you do it again? Like, give us your overall thoughts on that.
I think so. Another thing that they do there that I really like is they have villains in their treat trails. So when you go into a trail and they have candy all over the place, they're just throwing in your bags. There's usually a villain there and they'll talk to you
Hmm.
and kind of interact with you, which is fun. Very fun.
So, yeah, I don't remember that happening at Disney World, right? I don't think they
No.
do that there at all, not that I recall. That seems like a fantastic idea and a way to kind of
Mhm.
break up the crowds a little some because we've talked about it here before. There are people who go to the Halloween party at Magic Kingdom and spend the whole night standing in line just to be able to meet specific characters. So that sounds like a good way to make them accessible to people. You're that person.
I wanted to see Mickey in his costume. I wanted to see all the characters and then
Okay, there you go.
that's all
I
I
mean,
got to do.
so if I'm understanding correctly, they were near trick or treat trails, so people were constantly moving by them. It wasn't like a crowd blocking it. And that seems like an ideal way to do it because you're keeping traffic flowing, the people on foot moving by, not just standing there and covering the area, and also avoiding huge meet and greet lines. So that sounds like a really good option to me.
It
That's
is because
smart.
you can kind of take a selfie with them as you're going by. People do that,
Right.
but it's really a keep moving situation. They do have characters that you can get in lines for. And
Hmm.
of course, the big one is the Sanderson sisters. They're
Right.
adorable. We saw the line and said, "No, thank you.
Yeah.
We're not going to wait in this line." I mean, I proposed it to the group and they were like, "No." Every character, I was like, "Do you want to wait?" And they're like, "No."
No.
Well, let me ask about the villains and the trails. Did you know what villain was going to be in the trail when you started going through? Like, was it like, here's Ursula's trick or treat trail, or did you just kind of, it was a surprise?
I'm trying to remember if there was a sign. I mean, there was a sign saying it was a trail. I was trying to remember if it said which villain was in the trail. That I can't remember.
No, it's
But
fine.
a lot of them you could see the villain. You
Okay.
could see that not everyone, but some of them you could see who was there and you could hear them talking. So you're like, "Oh, I should get in
Okay.
that line."
Yeah.
Okay.
And of course, Oogie Boogie, he's at the animation and everybody wants to go see him, of
Yeah.
course. It's his party.
It is.
And does it work similar as Mickey's Not So Scary in that you're allowed to get into the park a little bit earlier with your park ticket, or do they have entirely different hours that they don't allow overlap out there?
Yes, you can get in at 3 to the
Okay.
park. It's an hour earlier than Mickey's Not So Scary because the party starts an hour earlier and gets done an hour earlier.
Okay. So I believe Not So Scary usually runs to midnight. Is that correct? So
Mhm,
it's Oogie Boogie over at 11. Okay. All right. That makes sense. That's good.
mhm,
All right.
mhm.
I'm assuming it was kind of a late night for you. So I'm guessing you weren't up too early in the morning, but go ahead and keep walking us through your trip.
Yeah, so the next day we agreed to meet a little bit later, knowing that everybody was tired and it's been kind of an eventful couple days. So we did walk over to Grand Californian again to go through the entrance, and that was our park for the day as well. It was hot. It was
Mhm.
really hot. I was kind of hoping in September. California is usually a little bit cooler, but it was unseasonably warm. So, we didn't get to do as much as I think we might have done had we felt that we weren't dying. Becca,
So I
you're up.
believe you that it was hot, but it wasn't Florida September hot, was it? You didn't have the humidity and like that
Here
real
is what
heavy
I will
air like you would you?
Well,
Okay.
this is what I would say because I am someone who has visited Walt Disney World many times in the summer.
Mhm.
We often vacation there with our kids then. And so we come up with the system of basically we spent as little time outside as possible. Everything was through a store, go through here, cut through. And you can do that because they have a lot of air conditioning at Walt Disney World, typically,
Mhm.
depending on the park, right? But at California, they don't really believe in air conditioning like they do in Florida, you know?
This is concerning to me. No one has ever said that to me before, and I hope you're lying because I told my kids we can go there next summer, and it's looking like it's going to be a late July type situation, and
Ooh.
this
Well,
sounds very, very bad to me.
I will tell you, I brought 3 of our children in June of 2018, and they were dying, and they said, "Well, mom, we're going into stores like we do at Walt Disney World, and it's not even cool." I said, "No, I guess it's not." So,
Great. Great. I can't wait for that experience.
well,
So
typically
stay
it's not
tuned
as
for that
fun.
one. That may be the end of me and my I'll give it a try. I'm trying to remember. So the last time I was out there, it was April. It was
Mhm.
early April, and I wore a jacket the entire time because I was cool, which is not like me at all. I was there a little, probably 10, 14 years ago. I don't know. It was a while ago in August, and it was very pleasant. So I guess in my mind, it's just always nice and not too hot out
Well,
there.
and that's what you think, and I think that's why they don't have the air conditioning situation like they do in Florida,
I'll
but
stay at Palm Breeze.
it was
You
just
know?
unseasonably warm. That's all, just unseasonably warm.
Okay. I'm sorry.
So
That's
anyway,
unfortunate.
it was. And that's why we probably didn't get as much done as we would have otherwise, because I was
Hmm.
expecting to be wearing pants and things like that, and that
Hmm.
didn't happen. No, that didn't happen.
Yeah, at least some
But
occasional layers, right?
so we were thinking, where can we get into lunch? Where can we get in where we're not melting or something? So we did eat at the Lamplight Lounge,
That is
which
super cute there. I enjoy that location.
and we ate out at the boardwalk. So it was outside, but it was undercover. And of course, we got the Incredicoaster then going off every couple seconds, which
Flying
was
by.
really
Yep.
fun. Yes, it was really fun to hear that while we were eating.
So did you do any rides or were you just eating that day?
Well, before we went to
Because
lunch,
I
we
and I
did.
asked because I don't like to be outdoors on rides when I'm hot. So I love the indoor and air conditioned rides, but the thought of Incredicoaster when I'm really hot, like I'll be sick before I get on it?
Well, and we were with a party where it was kind of a half and half situation where half of the people might have written certain things that half of the people didn't want to ride,
Okay.
which is always interesting. And again, I have been there before. I have ridden all the rides. So it wasn't like I
Mhm.
had to ride something. So we didn't do a lot of rides. We did do the Little Mermaid. I wanted to see if it was the same as in Florida.
Was
And
it?
the queue is different,
Okay.
obviously, but the ride itself was exactly the same.
Okay. Well,
So
now we
we
know.
did now we did that one,
Was it
and
air conditioned in the ride? Because it's
yes, and
usually
that's why I
pretty
think
cool in
why we
Florida.
did the ride. Yes, that's why we did the ride.
I think that's a good point. Disney's California Adventure, a lot of the queues are outside. And so this one has more cover than a lot of the queues. There's kind of a breezeway on that. But like in Coaster, you're outside the whole time.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
covered, but you're outside. So
Mhm.
that's something to note as well. That obviously Walt Disney World, they planned for heat and indoor queues, but at Disneyland, queues are a lot different there.
But we did do web slingers as well, and that queue at least, well, mostly inside. I
Yeah.
mean,
All right. So, what time of day was Lamplight? Was that a lunch thing or a dinner thing? Where are we at here?
so that was a lunch thing. We
Okay.
got in right when it opened. There was a big crowd because it opens. It must have been noon or something like that.
Okay.
But it dissipated very quickly. They got people seated, and it was a good lunch. I had the sliders, the mini beef sliders. They're pretty good.
Uh-huh.
A lot of bun though. A lot of bun.
Oh,
One of my favorite things is there is a lobster nachos. Did anybody get those? Do you remember?
Yes, somebody
Okay.
got the lobster nachos, and also there must have been a beef nacho or something like that
hmm.
too. Somebody got that. They were spicy a little, I
Oh,
heard. I
wow.
did not try them because I heard they were spicy, so.
Okay. So, Little Mermaid ride. Then what else?
And web slingers. Like I said, it was really hot, right? So we went into Clarabelle's, some people got a little treat there just to kind of get outside or get in.
Clarabelle's is. Tell us what Clarabelle's
I'm
is.
sorry. I'm sorry. It's the ice cream shop.
Okay. Very good. Are they? Do
That's
they
the
have
one where
like
you
some?
can make your own, right? You can make your own, like, popsicle type
Like it's a
concoction.
dip thing and you pick what you
Yeah.
have on it. That's what I was picturing when she said
Mm,
Clarabelle. So I think that might
okay.
be an option there, or it was at one time at least.
Okay. They had a seasonal treat there with a witch's hat on it that somebody got, and other people got
Okay.
ice cream. I just took a little break from the heat.
Okay.
So, and then we went inside the Sorcerer's Workshop in the Animation Academy again, just to kind of go somewhere that was not so
Not
Blazing
cold.
so
hot,
hot.
yeah.
Yeah. And then dinner was
Okay.
at Carthay Circle. That was something new for me.
Okay. What did you think of that there? That's a beautiful restaurant.
Oh, beautiful. Very beautiful. And our server was really amazing. I've never met someone who is so excited about his job. He was like a theatrical person. He was acting things out for us. He was talking about the opening night of Snow White, and it was pretty amazing.
It really is a special restaurant. Just to be able to see it from the outside, even, I think it makes for some great photos. But I can remember dining there several years ago, and we had a great dinner, and it was a fun place to be in. If I remember correctly, there was some memorabilia around on the walls, or did they have old artwork or something I'm picturing? I'll have to get there again because it's been a really long time since I was there last.
Yes, they did. It was really beautiful in there. It was all decked out and themed, everything to the theater and Snow White, and it was very fun. An
Yeah, I've not
experience.
an experience. I haven't been there. I have very limited table service experience at Disneyland. We do a lot of quick service there, or just kind of repeat some of the same table service restaurants. I do think they have a wonderful quick service selection, but again, a lot of it's outdoor seating, and so when it's really really hot, I would be looking for reservations too.
Exactly.
You guys make it sound horrendous.
I'm not trying to make it sound like that. It was just
When I get there next month, I better need a parka. Is all. I'm
it'll
gonna
probably
prove
be
you
very
wrong.
chilly. So
I've
chilly.
been twice in late May, and once it was late May, early June. Once was hot, and once we were and my kids were wearing beanies and had a blanket on the stroller in the
Hmm.
morning. So it's a little bit unpredictable, I think,
Yep.
what if you get unseasonably warm or what you're expecting.
Yes. Well, we'll be okay either way. All right. So after dinner at Carthay Circle, what did you do for the rest of the night?
So after dinner, our party was tired and had kind of had enough of the parks and everything. So we actually headed back to the Grand Californian and we hung out there. They have some nice seating areas that you can just sit and chat, and that's kind of how we ended our evening that day.
And we should note here that the intent of this trip for you was to be able to spend time with your friends that you were traveling with. This wasn't a trip that was intended to do all the rides and see everything Disneyland had to offer. The intent was just it was a place you all wanted to get out to again, spend some time there, and enjoy some different dining options. So, for our listeners who think, why is she not doing things? That's why. This was the intention of this trip. The heat, we're being a little bit dramatic when it comes to the heat. I think it really didn't prevent them from doing as much as it sounds.
No, and honestly, we wanted to see some of the 70th anniversary things. We wanted to do Oogie Boogie. That was a big thing. But yes, I've done everything at Disneyland. So I wanted to just go with the friends, experience it with them, have some fun, hang out. Sometimes when you go to the park so often, it kind of feels like you don't have to go and do everything every single time. Then you can maybe do some favorites, but you're not there from, I mean, I used to be there from open to close every single day, doing every single thing, but you get old and you get tired.
When I was younger, I couldn't really understand that. I would think, it's such a waste to pay for the park ticket and be in the park and not do the rides. But all of the Disney parks offer so much more than just rides that you're able to still enjoy yourself being there and feel like you got your money's worth for your tickets, even if you aren't Rambo mode on the rides all day. So,
That's true. It's an experience.
Yeah.
so
I
moving
would
on to, oh, sorry, Rachel, go ahead.
well, I was gonna ask Jen if you had lightning lane, but I'm gonna assume not because
We did.
you did?
Yes, so we did have Lightning Lane
Okay.
on our tickets for 2 of the days, and then so we did use it. We used it for Web Slingers, and we used it for Little Mermaid, which we probably didn't need it for, but
I found the Lightning Lane experience at Disneyland was a lot different than Walt Disney World. Again, Disneyland being such a locals park, the locals kind of rebel against the idea of Lightning Lane and will not purchase it. Unlike Walt Disney World, where it is heavily in demand. So if you are visiting Disneyland, I actually think it's a good idea to add Lightning Lane because you will find that you will get a lot done with it.
what I love about Lightning Lane at Disneyland is that you cannot make your first selection until you get into the park that day. There are no advanced 7 days, 3 days, none of that. So everybody is on the same level playing field. It's wonderful. You can get so many things in, and we do more rides on the next day. Don't worry. And we use our lightning lane much more. And it's only one at a time though. So you get one, You go on that one, you get another one, and so you can
So
get
it's
quite a bit.
basically like what the original Fast Pass was when you used to have to be in the park and go to the kiosk and put in your ticket that you've already swiped into the park with to get your return time. And then when you use that, you can get another. It's pretty much the same thing out there. It's just electronic instead. And it is more convenient because you don't have to go all the way to the ride to the kiosk to be able to get that return time. So I think it's an ideal system as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and I remember last time we were there is since last time I was there was since Lightning Lane had been introduced. We stayed at Disneyland itself late one evening, and, we were still getting what I consider e-ticket attractions an hour before park closing that we were able to get some of those, bigger attractions that at Walt Disney World would be gone. Yeah, definitely, it's well worth it.
For
All
sure.
right. So you say the next day you actually used it more. Do we finally get to Disneyland Park the next day? Is that where
Yes,
we're heading? Or
and
are we going back to California Adventure?
nope. We're heading to Disneyland, and so here's the scoop on this day. We were very excited because we had tickets to a tour. We were going to do the Story of Celebration, a 70th anniversary tour, which is a special tour just for the 70th anniversary. So we were very excited about that. And Heidi and I thought that staying at the Disneyland Hotel, we could ride the monorail into the park because we had to be there early to try and get in. And I wanted to avoid the line getting into the park. So we thought, oh, we'll ride the monorail, get into the park, and then walk up to the front to check in for our tour. That was our idea. That did not happen. There was kind of a line to get into the monorail. And for anyone who's not aware, the really glorious thing about the Disneyland monorail is that it actually goes into the park. So you have to scan your ticket in order to get on it. And they were having a delay with getting in with scanning. I think some of the machines were broken. We did finally get in, and we went up to the platform, and they said, you know what? This monorail is going, but the next one might be not available. So you might have a delay. And we looked at each other and thought, oh no, a delay because we had to be there at a certain time to check in. We didn't want to miss our tour. And so we asked someone, how long is it going to take? We have a tour. And they said, oh, if you do, you should probably just walk. So we had to
Oh,
go back out of the monorail station, and we didn't get to ride. We had to walk.
well, that
So
is
that was
sad.
sad news, Missy.
That is sad.
So I kind of want to look at a map now to see if you ended up having to walk more or not, because the monorail, where does the monorail drop you off in the park?
Tomorrowland.
Okay, that's what I was picturing. I was picturing more towards like the back side of the park, not the
It's
front center,
close to the
basically.
Finding Nemo subs, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's
Okay.
right next to the finding. And so it's really not a far walk.
Is it near where I'm going way back here, so come back in time with me. Is it where the Skyway station used to board? I picture it around that area years ago, like the gondolas that used to run
That
to the
is
Metro
way that's
Terminal.
too far for me.
Oh,
I
I'm
don't
so I'm
I've only been
Rachel,
to
I'm a
Disneyland as an
baby.
adult.
Okay. Well, that's the area I was picturing it in. So anyway, I'll find that out next month. I'll look it up ahead of time so I don't seem clueless when I get out there. But I was chatting with our friend Heidi, who was also on this trip, about the distance for everything out there, comparing it to the distances that you walk at Disney World. And I'm pretty sure when I checked on maps and did the distances, it's closer to get from the Disneyland Hotel to the Disneyland gate than it is to walk from Epcot to Hollywood Studios. Now, these days, that would not be my number one means to get there. But back in the day when I was pushing strollers and had little ones, we always beat the ferry boats to get over to Hollywood Studios or Epcot, vice versa, traveling from one to the other. I think it's right around a mile, maybe a little less than a mile. So the distance really isn't as bad as some people may think there. I know walking through all of downtown Disney seems long, but it's not really that far, I don't think. So anyway, I'm very sad that you couldn't ride the monorail and that you had to walk to the park, but
It was
I
fine.
hope things were looking up after that.
Oh, yes, it was fine. We got into the park. We actually had time to spare. So we were able to look around at some of the gift shops before we had to head back and check in. And it was, again, a really amazing tour. Our guide was terrific. He had a love for the company that was very, very evident. And I think that, when you experience people that are so excited about coming into work every day that really makes a difference. And I did notice that about most of the cast members there, is that there was just a big excitement.
So, how would you compare this tour to? I know you were part of our group that did the Keys to the Kingdom tour in July at Walt Disney World in Magic Kingdom. I believe the tour you did was much shorter than Keys to the
Mhm.
Kingdom. So, it would may be difficult to compare them. But if you were going to have to choose one or the other, do you think one is the superior option, or are they too different to compare?
I think they're really very different. Remind me, how long was our tour at Walt Disney World? The Keys to the Kingdom,
5 hours,
5
was
hours,
I think
it?
it
right?
was 5 including lunch. Yes, that was a long day.
Yeah.
Very
Mhm.
long. Yes.
So this one is only 2 hours, so much shorter. However, you do get some perks that I thought were really nice. This tour really focused on opening day attractions and kind of telling the story of opening day and how it all, because it was the 70th anniversary, right? So that's
Right.
what they're kind of talking about. And so I think a lot of the material were things that I had heard before. So it wasn't
Yeah.
like everything was new material for me, but it was still interesting. It hit you in all the feels. We got to go around Main Street and they talked about the windows and why why the
Uh-huh.
names are here and telling the stories, which was just really, if you're into like kind of nostalgia and how it all was, way back when, it was very, very fun. It was a very fun tour. And so we walked around the park basically talking about things. He was really good as far as making sure he got us in the shade when he was going to talk to us, things like that. And I know that happened at Walt Disney World as well, in the Keys to the Kingdom tour.
Mhm.
We got to ride the Mark Twain riverboat, and he talked to us while we were riding about significant things as we were going around. And we also got to ride the train. He talked about that as well. We got a special area in the train, which was kind of nice. Special seating, that we could all be together. And
Mhm.
then near the end of it, they gave us a lightning lane to Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which obviously was not an opening day attraction, but as, the first attraction that had Mickey in it, that was kind of significant. Also, spoiler alert, we did not make it, but we did get special viewing access to the Paint the Night parade
Oh,
with the tour
nice.
and popcorn. Apparently we would have gotten white chocolate popcorn as well, but we
Wow.
did
Well,
not
that's an
make it.
excellent benefit to have the viewing
Yeah.
spot. So, how big of a group did you have? I know our Keys to the Kingdom was around 18 or 20 people. Was this about the same size group?
Yes, it was about the same size group. And I don't know how many of them they run during the day. So, and like I said, we didn't make it to the viewing area. So I don't know, how many groups that would have included in that
Mhm.
area. But I did think it was an excellent perk to offer. And obviously, you had to get there at a certain time. And if you got there sooner, you would get a better location to view
Right.
than
Do you
others. But
remember when your booking window for that opened?
was it 60 days?
Okay. Like kinda I mean, same with Disney World and everything. Because 'cause I'm
I
just
think.
wondering. I mean, that does sound like a good obviously, it's probably not gonna be permanent, but, that is a good perk with that to be able to have that.
Okay, so did you do any attractions as part of the tour like we did with Keys to the Kingdom, or were your rides later in the day?
So it was just the riverboat and the train.
Mhm.
And then we didn't ride Mickey and Minnie's together. So that was like, he gave us our pin. We handed back our earpieces. And then it was on our app, the
Okay.
Okay.
Lightning Lane.
So you were able
Then
to do it at any time. That's nice. I
anytime.
like that.
We chose to do it right then because we were nearby. So we thought, we'll
Mhm.
just go do it right then. But it was, again, another nice perk that they had.
And
So
then
then
after Yeah, go ahead.
after that, we started using lightning lanes. I know everybody's going to be excited to hear this. So we had our first lightning lane we did get was for Indiana Jones, which only two of us wanted to ride, but those two really wanted to ride. So we did that. And so we did Indiana Jones, and then we stopped for lunch because by that time it was pretty much around noon.
Mhm.
And we went to Jolly Holiday. That's the bakery. They have Berea. Is that how you pronounce it? Berea grilled cheese.
Okay.
It's like a beef.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I have
Oh,
no idea how to pronounce
I
it. Yeah.
I don't know what they have. Okay. So you had some grilled cheese
I mean, it's kind of famous. It's a famous grilled cheese, yes. Oh,
With
dear.
beef?
With beef, yes. The beef and grilled cheese. And so we had lunch there, and then we did some more rides. We did the Haunted Mansion Holiday. Again, that's
Nice.
another new thing that, well, new to from Walt Disney World to Disneyland is that they have an overlay they put on the Haunted Mansion. And I mean, I'm a Haunted Mansion fan, so I'm just going to be honest, I'm not sure how I feel about it. I mean, it's cute, but it's not the original that I'm used to seeing all the time. But it's fun
Mhm.
for a
It
little
is.
bit.
I'll I'll make another reference on that. I have never been able to sit through The Nightmare Before Christmas the whole way
Same.
through.
Nope. I
It
don't
just
I don't understand what the
I
hype is
don't get
all
it.
about.
It bores
Nope.
me to tears. But I think the overlay is very well done. It completely transforms the attraction. It is not like some other overlays like the Jingle Cruise where you've got some things thrown in, but it's still makes the attraction completely different. I think it's very well done, and I've ridden it several times. We enjoyed it ourselves, so I think it's much more entertaining than the movie.
Think that they should overlay an entirely different ride to make it different and not the best ride that's there. But I
I
do
agree.
understand why it is what it is. And now
But
I'm
so
worried about that. Now I'm panicking again. Oh, this is just giving me anxiety for my trip with my kids next summer because now I'm wondering when the ride is closed down for
Oh,
them
yeah.
to do that because I can't go there and not take the kids on the Haunted Mansion for
oh
real.
yeah, it takes quite some time to do that overlay.
All right, I'm going to add that to my list of things I need to
So
check out.
August
We need to
could
reach
be. It could be if you said August. I don't know.
It's end of oh, great. Now my pen chose to stop writing. This is not my day. All right. So after that, what was next?
So after our lunch, or after we did Haunted Mansion Holiday, that's right. Then so one of the members of our group had never been on Rise of the Resistance, which I thought was amazing. How could you never have been on that? So we
Anywhere in
did,
any of the parks? Like not you're not just saying the Disneyland one, you're talking about
yes,
studios as well. Okay. All
yes,
right. Wow. Well,
yes.
you got to
Like
do that.
every time she said she had, went to go on, got in line, and it would shut down. And so she never got to experience it. So we did purchase individual lightning lanes for that, which I
It
thought
is
was
a little
totally
silly that we're in, what are we in like year 6 of that ride and it still goes down pretty
it does. And so funny story,
it's new technology. So
we walked
it's
over
6
there
years
for
old.
our lightning lane and actually it was shut down.
Oh, no.
And
Stop
she
it.
said, "Oh, no." And I said, "You are bad luck. You are very bad luck." But so we went inside and got a little snack at one of the little counter services there, trying to find my camera light here. My son is coming
You're
in.
glowing, Jen. You're
I am. I'm
glowing.
like, whoo, can't even see me there. Anyway, maybe that's better. I should have left it, I guess.
Yes.
Anyway, it did come back up. So we were able to go in and use our lightning lane and ride Rise of the Resistance, which she absolutely loved. She was very excited
Excellent.
about it. She's excited to ride again. So that was very fun. And then we got a lightning lane for Small World, which surprisingly was quite busy. It's a fun attraction there. And what makes it fun at Disneyland that I love is that they have the Disney characters in there. And
Mhm.
on our tour, we were told that there are 37 Disney characters. And so it was kind of a
Oh,
challenge to
Hmm.
try and find them all. I did not find 37. I
yeah,
don't know
I
how.
definitely have not found 37 Disney
No. But
characters
now I have to go
on that.
back, right? And
Yeah,
try and find 37. So,
that's fun.
mhm, for sure. And then it was time for dinner. We had reservations at Cafe Orleans in New Orleans Square,
Okay.
and we ate there. I had never been there before as far as sitting down to eat. And so we did get a table outside, but it was a little bit later and so it was cooler. The sun was starting to come down and it was much nicer outside then.
And you had what to eat?
And I had the beef short rib, which was very good. Very good. And they had mashed potatoes with it, so it was pretty
Oh,
delicious.
sounds tasty. Okay, and
Yeah.
were you still up for more rides after dinner or attractions
No,
or was that it for the day?
it would have been, but I think the rest of our party was ready to call it a day. So that was our day.
Hey, well, you did quite a bit that day, and I think
We
even
did.
just doing the tour makes it worth it to get into
Yeah.
the park for the day because that's a pretty special experience. And like you mentioned, a lot of the information you hear on these things, if you're a big Disney fan to start with, isn't really news because the history of opening day at the park and how the park was created and what Walt's dream is isn't going to change over time. Obviously, it certainly shouldn't because it's factual information. And as big Disney fans, we already know these things. But there's just something really special about being able to, as they say, walk in Walt's footsteps and be in the park where he actually was, the first that was created, and just hear how it came about and just be amazed at everything that's come of it since then. Not only being a place for family, but a place for friends too, which is silly as that seems. I mean, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't even know you guys, and I love you guys.
Right?
So I don't know why I felt the need to throw that in there, but to me, even if you didn't do rides, just getting in there and doing that tour for the day was a great thing. So that's a lot of fun. Okay, so then you had. Do we still have one more park day, or were you counting the first park day was the Oogie Boogie Bash day?
No, so we do still have one more park day. However, on this day, half of the party was leaving. They were going
Okay.
home, and Heidi and I were staying for one extra day. So we
Okay.
had reservations very early in the morning at Storytellers Cafe, which is again in the Grand Californian,
Hmm.
and it is their character buffet. And oh my, let me just tell you that the characters had on the cutest fall outfits that you have ever seen. It was adorable. It was adorable.
I saw photos of the character photos, and yes, they are adorable. They absolutely are.
What
Mm.
characters do they have there?
So, and they have kind of a range. They have different ones for dinner apparently. Well, they have kind of the main ones. So they have Mickey, they have Minnie, they have Pluto, Mickey, Minnie, Pluto, they had Chip and Dale.
Okay.
And then they said in the evening they have Clarabelle and Goofy, I believe they said. But I don't know if then they take some of the morning ones out, I guess. So we went for breakfast. I don't know
Okay.
how they rotate it out or whatever, but
And were they in Halloween costumes, or was it just fall attire, do you mean?
so they weren't Halloween costumes, but they weren't their typical outfits that they would normally wear. They were
Okay.
more fall weather,
Okay.
which was I mean, they were just very cute. And it kind of gave me old Liberty Tree Tavern vibes where
Oh,
they used to
I miss
have the
those.
characters dress up in their Halloween costumes, which was so much fun. We used to love that. And, and then they had different costumes for the rest of the year. So this was it
Mhm.
reminded me of that and it was kind of fun.
How
Okay.
was the food? I hear from a lot of people that that's one of their favorite character meals across both coasts, that they love storytellers so much.
Mhm. It was really good. It is a buffet, so you get up and choose whatever you want. I thought it was really good. My one thing was they had an omelet station, but that was, like, very slow, and at first I thought I was gonna be able to get up, but apparently someone had already come and made an order and then, they left, but then they came back, and so he was making 3 things for them, and then, they had 2 more they were doing, and I was like, "Well,
Oh,
never mind.
wow.
I'm not gonna wait
Yeah.
for 100 orders or whatever, but they do have an omelet station. They have, ham, like, that they are carved for you, which is good. Just kind of the typical breakfast things.
All right, so part of your group left then, and it was just 2 of you remaining, so and I would
Yes,
imagine at some point we're gonna have to pack, which is sad, worst part of any trip, but,
for
what did you
sure.
guys do with the rest of your last day there?
So then what we did is since we were so close, we just went to downtown Disney. Heidi had some returns to make, so we did that, got a little shopping done, and then we headed back to the Disneyland Hotel to bring back our purchases and get everything kind of ready to go.
Uh-huh.
I'm a big Trader Sam's fan. I love
Wow.
visiting there, and so I had talked her into let's see if we can get on lunch. Let's do the walk up list. They're no longer doing reservations there. And so they're just doing a walk up list, which you can join. And, they'll try and seat you outside then, but you can ask them at the podium, how long is it going to be for inside? And they'll tell you and let you wait for that if you'd like.
And if you're
And
not
so
familiar with Trader Sam's at Disneyland, Trader Sam's at Disneyland was the original Trader Sam's, correct? They had it there at the Disneyland Hotel prior to the one opening at Disney's Polynesian Village Resort. So it's the OG.
As they say.
Yes, so Trader Sam's was the original, and it's a very fun place to visit. It is a little bit different than Walt Disney World's has, but I love the food there, and that was kind of the big draw for me. I always get the Hawaiian platter with chicken thighs, and they used to have a pasta salad that was just so, so good. Now they put it on rice, which is okay. I mean, it's still good. It just wasn't as amazing as that pasta salad that they used to have there, but yes, it's a fun place to visit for sure.
So is it very similar to the one in Florida that it is interactive and has all the fun stuff and the themed drinks? It's basically the same thing, right? I think it looks different from what I remember, but it's kind of the same sort of thing?
It is the same sort of thing. Do feel, and maybe this was just the day we were there, but I do feel that it's a little bit more interactive in Florida in the sense that if you order a drink, if you do not purchase the mug, they don't give you, like they don't serve it to you in the specialty mugs that they have for all the different drinks. And then I don't think they do the interactive features that go along with it unless you do that either. Because, for example, I typically would get a zombie, and at Walt Disney World, they'll put on these goggles and, they'll play music and do the lights a certain way and, come walking over to you like they're a zombie. And they did not do that at Disneyland. But they did do the OA once. Somebody must have
Okay.
ordered that. And so they they do sirens, they do lights, they do all sorts of different interactive things. They spray water at you sometimes. So, I mean, they do still do those things. I think they just don't do it quite as often as they do in Florida.
We should add that onto one of our upcoming travels. Like next time we're all there, we should try to get to Trader Sam's because I'm thinking about it as you're talking about it. I think it's been maybe 7 or 8 years since I was there last at the one at the Polynesian. So need to get back in there.
Well, I've been to both, but I have only sat outside, so I've never seen any of the interactive things. Yeah.
That's a
Rachel,
shame.
well, then you must
Right.
really.
Right.
So
You
what do you
call
mean? Did
yourself a
you sit
fan.
out? Were you out on the on Tiki Terrace then, and not actually in Trader Sam's? You're saying,
Well, we had the Trader Sam's menu.
right?
So but we were out there because one of them was the trip that we've talked about before when we were there in February, and I was there with some of our friends, and we just didn't have enough time to try and join the
Right.
walk up list. So we were sat and served immediately. But at Disneyland, I did sit outside. My husband and I were together, and we just sat outside, and that was another one of those things. We're East Coast time, so we were tired already, and it was quite a bit of a wait. But we could be sat outside immediately, so we decided to do that.
Okay.
Well, and that's another thing to note too, is that you can have children at Trader Sam's inside even, because I mean, we brought our granddaughter who was a baby inside there. And so you can have kids inside there up until a certain point of time. And I want to say
Okay.
that time is 10 p.m., but maybe it's 8 p.m. I don't remember exactly what time it was,
I
but
was
Now we
thinking it
didn't
was 9. So who
have kids,
knows?
that was
somewhere they'll tell you. But
yeah. No babies.
The last time I tried to go there, I can't remember which trip it was, but I remember that we went and we checked in and they sent us the text telling us we were in line. But they did warn us that there was going to be the cutoff for minors. And we were about an hour and a half out from that. And I thought, all
yeah.
right, well, we'll give it a try, but with our luck, we'll get called and, they won't be able to come in with us because it'll be at the cutoff. And we ended up spending a little time at the Polynesian, and then we went over to Enchanted Rose at the Grand Floridian. And we were
Mm.
finished at the Grand Floridian and moved on. I think we were even back at our hotel. It was hours later before they texted and said, your time is called. Do you still want to come or no? Because, it was like somebody who knew that we had the kids. I'm like, no, and it's been hours. I forgot I was even on your walk up list at that point. So you really need, especially if you have several people. I think we had maybe 5 that night. You need to have a lot of time to commit to it and to kill in that area, or it's
Or
not
you
going to
have
work.
to be there immediately when the line opens.
Uh-huh.
You have to be there right away to get
Right.
on the list, like before it
Right.
even opens. Yeah.
Right. Yes. Okay. All right. So
Mhm.
after Trader Sam's, what did you do for the rest of the day?
So then we did walk over to the Disneyland park. We were going to visit there again. We did not have Lightning Lane attached to our ticket this time. So we weren't really thinking we were going to be doing a lot of rides anyway. I know that's surprising to some people, but I wanted to do some shopping. Heidi wanted to get some snacks. So that was kind of our thought process as we were going through. And then we got there. And again, I'm going to be dramatic. It was hot, right? And so boy, we actually went into the Red Rose Tavern, which is one of their counter service locations, but it has indoor seating. So we actually went in there, and there's a little room kind of at the back that almost nobody was in. So we sat at a table and kind of got our game plan back together, and decided we would go on the train. We were thinking about maybe just kind of heading out. We got on the train and we found out, well, guess what? We could get reservations at Din Tai Fung again. So, and that sounded like a great plan when we were all hot. So we decided, so it was a walk-up list. We weren't able to get reservations. It was a walk-up list. And at first it was going to be an hour and a half or something like that. So we thought, perfect. We can get some stuff done at Disneyland and then we can head back. Well, as it turns out, all of a sudden then they said, your time is going to be up here. And suddenly we were closer than we thought. So we had to actually take the train back and head out of the park. So that was, kind of a park day. Not a lot of park time for
Not a
our
lot of parking on the
yeah.
park. So did
A
you
lot of
choose
eating.
something? So for your second experience there, did you choose something different for dinner or did you go back to what you had the first time?
I had what I had. I pretty much
Well, the
have
steak
this every
was that
time.
good, huh?
And so they have a dessert there, which is basically their dumplings, but it's chocolate. It's like melted
Mm,
chocolate inside. And they have this cream that you dip it into. It's like real cream with a little bit of salt on it, sea salt on it. Oh, it's really good. So we
that
had some of
sounds
those as well.
delicious. Okay. And then I'd imagine at that point you need to walk back to the Disneyland Hotel and
Yes.
get ready to head home the next day. So for your return to the airport, did you just use rideshare again for that?
Yes. We just use rideshare again for that.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Well, you did a lot of things, even though it wasn't typical attractions. So it sounds like it was a great trip. And we appreciate you being here with us today to chat a bit about it. And hopefully in the coming years, we can all plan a trip out to Disneyland together again because it's been a while. And I do like to get out there. We'll just need to aim for not a lot of heat, I guess, when we do it.
Yeah,
Maybe
really
And
cool
winter.
that'll give
time of
us
year to go.
the most successful
Absolutely.
trip.
Winter.
For today's top five, we are talking about top five attractions that are exclusive to the Disneyland Resort. So this will be either at Disneyland Park or at Disney's California Adventure. Jen, as our guest, will you start us out? What's your number five?
My number 5 is World of Color, which is at California Adventure, and it is a water light show, and it's very, very impressive.
So that's
It
funny
is. It
because
reminds me of if you've seen Fantasmic. Yeah.
it's also my number 5. So that works out perfectly. That I have World of Color at Disney's California Adventure is my number 5 also. It's a very impressive show and I really enjoyed it. So, and it's something you can't see at Disney World. How about you, Rachel? What do you have
Yeah.
for your number 5?
Well, my number five, yeah, it's the thrilling, exhilarating Storybook Land canal boats,
Oh my
which
goodness
I just
gracious.
think is really cute. But it's a super cute attraction. It's at Disneyland. And it's very unique having the little scenes from the different movies throughout. But yeah, it's cute.
Okay.
All right, Jen, number four.
My number 4 is even though they have a monorail at Walt Disney World, at Disneyland, the difference is it goes directly into the park, which I think is really amazing. And every theme park should do this.
Missy, what do you have?
Well, I do have that on my list, actually. So I'll go ahead and make it my number 4, even though I think I would technically have it be my number 1 because I think it's that amazing. But I do love having a monorail that goes right into the park. I think that's the kind of thing that people imagine it does. If you haven't been to Disney before and you hear you have a monorail hotel, I think that people think that it'll take them right into the park. And of course, it's magical being just outside the Magic Kingdom at Disney World, but it's super exciting to be able to take it right into the park at Disneyland. How about you, Rachel? What's your number 4?
My number four is the Incredicoaster at Disney's California Adventure. And so it is the only roller coaster that goes upside down there. And it's just fun. I think it's fun. I like the boardwalk type feel of that area. And on Disney Plus, when the 70th anniversary things came out and they did all the ride throughs, my children have watched that one so many times. They have not been to Disneyland since they were little, so they want to go. They keep asking if they can go back so they can ride the Incredicoaster.
It's pretty cute, and it's actually my number 3. So we could roll right
There you go.
into that here with number
Yeah.
3s and Credit Coaster's my number 3. So I don't think I've been on it since it's been in Credit Coaster. I'm thinking back to California Screamin', honestly, and it always reminds me of I should have looked at this ahead of time, but I just kind of had the thought now of why I think I like it. There used to be a TV show that the opening scene showed a coaster by the water, which I'm assuming maybe it was in Santa Monica or something at the pier or somewhere else. It had to have been like a TGIF thing from back in the day that there was a coaster. I'm like hearing the song. It's not coming to my head. I'm going to figure it out later. But we can follow up on that on our socials. But that's why I love that coaster there. Back when the theme was California and that was the pier area, I thought that was super cool. And it kind of took me back to my childhood with that. So that's why Incredicoaster made it for my number three. But I'm sorry we skipped you, Jen, on number three there. What do you have for your number three?
So I kind of cheated just a tiny little bit. And I said my number three were all of the amazing different dark rides that they have in Fantasyland that they don't have in Florida. They have, like you said, the Storybook Canals, which I really love. They have Pinocchio's Daring Adventure. They have the Snow White that they used to have at Walt Disney World, but now they've changed it a little bit. So I just love the theming, and everything is so very detailed in that land. So very
There's a
different.
lot of
Yeah.
very unique things there. Yeah. How about you, Rachel, for your number three?
So I'm still at Disney's California Adventure for number 3, and I said Radiator Springs Racers. I think that is such a cute, well done ride. I love when you're kind of starting out and you're driving through the valley there. And Disney did a fantastic job with theming on that attraction. Every little detail is thought of and considered, and it's a lot of fun. And I don't think I'm ever in the winning car, but I don't care. That's not the point of it.
Right. Moving on to your number two, Jen. We're getting down there pretty fast today.
Well, honestly, as I'm hearing everybody else's too, I'm like, oh, but I love that too. Yes, I love that.
I know.
And there really are so many different things about Disneyland. And I didn't even get to California Adventure. Isn't that crazy? My number two was still at Disneyland. And that is the Matterhorn, because I absolutely love the Matterhorn. It may be a kind of a jerky ride, but it is just so much fun.
I can't believe that didn't make my list because that was the big thing I could remember from my first trip there when I was a kid. Talking about the Matterhorn because I couldn't even say it correctly at the time, but I totally blanked on that. So it's not on my list. Actually, Web Slingers made the number two on my list. I think that whole area of the park is great. I would love to see something like that happening in Orlando, and that was a really fun ride. So Web Slingers made my number two. How about you, Rachel?
So Matterhorn was my number 2 as well. Yeah, I think it's a lot of fun. I like to ride it at night. It's fun at night. You're sitting low in that vehicle is it's the scare factor is much more than just the intensity of the ride.
And it's much more exhilarating also than your canal boats. So
Yeah.
very opposite.
I finally did go. I went straight to exhilarating after the canal.
Mm. Well, nobody has
Jen.
mentioned my number one yet, and I'm curious to see if we all end up having the same number one or if we went totally different on it. So let's hear it, Jen.
Yeah,
What do you
nobody's
have?
mentioned mine either. So
Well, so my number one is something that will be at Walt Disney World
Ah,
coming up here. Yeah, yeah. So I, of course, chose Indiana Jones Adventure. I
oh,
love that. Wasn't what you were thinking?
it's not
okay.
what mine is. No.
What is that?
Okay.
What yours is? Okay. I love that ride. I just love being jerked around, and it's just super fun. I'm not even a huge Indiana Jones fan, but I think it's so much fun. And when we wrote it just this last trip, I said, I think that's even jerkier than Dinosaur. And, my friend was like, well, I don't know. They're both like that, but it's a fun ride.
Yeah,
It
it's
is.
very
Well,
fun. And it's brighter than Dinosaur, so you can see more of it too.
Hmm.
yeah. Dinosaur is pretty jerky though. So it could go either way. As a side note, I'm still trying to remember what the 80s or 90s sitcom was that I'm picturing with that the roller coaster by the water. It may have been Step by Step. I'm just getting little fragments in my head in my memories here. I need to figure it out. I won't sleep tonight until I figure it out. So, but anyway, my number one has absolutely nothing to do with that, and it is Walt Disney: A Magical Life, the new animatronic show featuring Walt himself. Of course, haven't seen it yet because it's new, but it is definitely what I'm the most excited for with my next trip. And I intend on seeing it if at all possible. So I just think that's a kind of special thing. I know that the reviews were not amazing at first, but I also know that the most critical people on the planet are Disney fans. So I feel like maybe it's not as bad as some of them made it seem. So I'm eager to see it.
I was going to mention that actually. We did do that our last park day. I forgot to mention it,
Oh,
but that was one of our things on the list that we really wanted to see as being something new. It gave me some kind of one man's dream vibes. A
hmm.
lot of it, the audio was similar. Of course it is, it's got to be, but it was very cool to see the animatronic. It walks. It's just
Oh, that's
very
cool.
cool.
Okay. Good to know. All right. Now I want to see it even more. All right, Rachel, back to your number one here. Did you have the same thing as
Yep.
either one of us?
No, my number one's completely different. Jen touched on it a little bit, but she didn't mention it. So I'll give you a hint. I am merrily, 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 merrily on my way to number one, which is Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. That used to be at Walt Disney World. And if you've ridden the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, there's a photo, which is an homage to that. But that was one of my favorites growing up at Walt Disney World. Rode it every trip. I thought it was so much fun, and I can still find it at Disneyland. I make a point to ride it every single time that I'm out there, and it brings back childhood memories for me, the nostalgia factor. But I am terribly sad that it went away from Walt Disney World. But I am glad that there is still a place where it does exist, and Mr. Toad and I can go on a wild ride.
If I didn't think of that one either. And I feel like maybe I should redo this top five because I failed myself on it in a way. But at the same time, like we touched on a bit, there really are so many differences between the parks, which is pretty crazy considering there are only two out there in California. So you would think there'd be a lot more duplication than what we actually see in reality. So that's pretty fun. That was a good
Yeah,
list. I like that
it
one.
was.
All right. Moving right into our Q&A for the day, we have our listener question. And our listener question for today actually has to do with Disneyland in a way. And they are asking, what option is better for your first trip, Disneyland or Disney World? This may be an impossible question. I am willing to try to give it a go, but I'd love to hear what both of you have to say first. What do you think, Jen? Do you recommend one over the other for a first trip?
So it's kind of funny when we decided when me and my husband were going to bring our kids for the first time, minus our newborn, I wanted to go to Walt Disney World because I said, you know what? I know this park like the back of my hand. I want to do something I know. It's going to be, stressful bringing toddlers into a park. And he said, no, let's go to Disneyland. It's because it's something new. I said, something new? Why would we want to do something new? But actually, so we did go to Disneyland. And it was nice because it feels smaller, a little bit more manageable. That even though it was new to me, so I felt stressed out, like, how are we going to get there? What are we going to do? We did not stay on property, but we stayed at one of the Good Neighbor hotels that are very close by, took the trolley. It was super easy. And I think it was a good first trip because of the size.
Okay.
Also with toddlers and strollers, you don't have to, like, you're not getting on a bus. You don't have to pack up those strollers all the time either.
Yes, it's less of an undertaking, I think, to be at Land and World overall. I mean, there's just less involved with it. So, all right, what about you, Rachel?
This is I agree. This is the impossible question. And if you meet Disney fans who have been to both, they are very adamant that one is their favorite over the other. So I would say two things to consider: the length of time that you have for vacation. Disneyland takes a lot less time to cover, but also, demographics of your travel party as well. Or if you're going because you really admire Walt Disney himself and you kind of want to see a park through his eyes, I would definitely say Disneyland. But, if you have a big multi-generational group that is interested in a lot of different things, I think Walt Disney World is a great option because there's so much to do and to take in, and there's something for everybody at both parks. But I think Walt Disney World for me gives me the edge on what I can do.
Okay, interesting answer. So, in my answer is actually different than any of the points you hit on, I think. Um, And it is not just go to Disney World because it's my favorite, because I really do love and appreciate Disneyland also. I think that you should heavily weigh it depending on where you're coming from. So, Jen mentioned at one point during our chat today about the time difference and, getting going in the morning and that sort of thing. And it made me think you can be putting yourself way behind with either option if you're coming from the opposite coast and have to deal with that time change, especially with kids. That's really rough. It's one thing for me to say, let's go rope drop the Magic Kingdom at 8 a.m., coming from the same time zone. But if I'm coming from somewhere a couple time zones over and I'm already behind a few hours and I've spent a day traveling just to get there, just being in a different place with your kids, settling everybody in, trying to get a good night's sleep, that can make all the difference in the world when you're dealing with your vacation. So I would say the first thing I would look at is how difficult is it going to be to get there? How much is your routine already interrupted to do this vacation? And then go from there to decide which coast you want to start with. But I do recommend getting to both of them eventually. So even if you
Yeah.
don't choose one as your first trip, try to make it a point at least once if you're able to get to the opposite coast and see what they have to enjoy. Because as we discussed today, they do offer a lot of similar things, but they offer a lot of different things as well. So I
Yeah,
think that was a
and
great
even the
question.
similar well, I was gonna say even the similar things, both coasts have a Pirates of the Caribbean
Uh-huh.
ride, but they are very different from each other, so, always don't assume that just because you've been on one at Walt Disney World 100 times that the one at Disneyland will be the same. There's very few attractions, I think, that are similar. Mickey Minnie's Runaway Railway is the same as is Rise of the Resistance, but Mickey Minnie's Queue is very different at Disneyland than it is at Walt Disney World, so be sure to check those out.
Right. And at Disneyland, you have It's a Small World, which looks entirely different from the outside. I think that is one of the things that made the biggest impression to me is seeing that lit up at night as a kid.
Mhm.
I got to Disney World the first time as an adult and was like, what is this? This is not what I remember, you know? And then in the Haunted Mansion, when you're talking about the room actually stretching, I don't want to spoil anything, but you have a different experience out in land than you do down in world. So that was a fun question to answer. And I'm sorry that we don't have one specific right or wrong answer, but we all travel differently and everyone's answer is going to differ a bit depending on what's best for you and your family. So if you have a question you would like to send in for us, we would love to give it a shot and try to answer it. You can email us at disneylife at storybookdestinations.com or podcast at storybookdestinations.com. We'd also love it if you wanted to join in on our conversations and our social media platforms. We have a Facebook group called A Disney Life, and as well as we're on Instagram or on TikTok with a Disney Life pod. So find us there. We post a few different things during the week, just some clips, maybe some outtakes occasionally, and trying to get some conversation going there with you. So, to wrap things up today, we have a tip from Rachel. I have no idea what her tip is today because I didn't ask her ahead of time, but I'm eager to hear it and we'll go from there.
So I actually had to it is a Disneyland themed tip of the week, and I will say this, I had to change it because I was going to talk about the Japanese pancakes at Tangaroa Terrace at Disneyland Hotel, and then I was looking at the menu to make sure they were still there, and they have changed them.
Oh, no.
One tip is to let's start a petition to bring those back because they were amazing. But my actual
Second
tip
tip is check the menu before you could record a podcast
check
about
the
something.
menu before I told you to go eat them, so I'm glad that I did check them. My tip is if you are planning a trip to Disneyland, we do love the 3 resorts that are owned and operated by Disney. However, you can book a Good Neighbor package through Disneyland or through your travel agent with several resort options that are not only within walking distance to the main park gates, but some of the Good Neighbor resorts are actually closer to the main park entrance gates than the 3 Disney resorts that are owned and operated by Disney. So there are plenty of options that are there other than just the 3 main Disney resorts, which again that we love, but there are some favorites among us too of ones that are operated by other companies that are very close by to Disneyland. So that's going to do our episode today. Jen, thank you so much for taking us to Disneyland with you. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day.